This is the story of Jessie Murph and how she fell in love in the wake of heartbreak in 1965. The year before, her boyfriend left her for another woman, and as the holidays approached, she was desperate to escape the loneliness. So she did something bold. She bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco and started over. Now, I don't know about you, but there are few cities that can compare to San Francisco. The Golden Gate Bridge, the cable cars, the Victorian architecture, not to mention all the amazing food and wine. It's no wonder Jessie loved it. But even so, it wasn't enough to make her stay. A few weeks after arriving, she met a man named Gene Austin at a party. He was a musician who had recently returned from touring with Janis Joplin. And within a few months, they were dating. They saw each other every day, going to concerts, dancing at the Avalon Ballroom, or hanging out at the home of friends. One of those friends was a prominent figure in San Francisco society, and he became a key part of their relationship. Every couple has its unique way of expressing love, but sometimes that can be difficult. This was especially true for these two. See, Gene was bisexual, and occasionally his relationships with other men would cause problems with Jessie. Their conflicting feelings about Gene's sexuality led to arguments and hurt. So when he went away on tour again, she decided to go back to New York. But then something unexpected happened. On her way back, she got pneumonia and had to stop in Denver for treatment. And while there, she met a woman named Joanne Dixon. Unlike Gene, Joanne was straightforward about her love life. She was married to a famous football player. She just really wanted to have fun. After Jessie recovered from pneumonia, she returned to New York, but she couldn't get Joanne off her mind. Was this just a passing fancy or something more? Well, she didn't have long to wait for an answer. Joanne called Jessie several times, and eventually Jessie agreed to meet up with her again. But when they saw each other, Jessie felt a spark that she couldn't deny. They spent the whole day together, talking about everything under the sun. They laughed, they cried, they stayed up all night talking. And by the next day, they knew they had something special. They began dating and quickly became inseparable. They traveled all over the country together. They lived in a loft in Soho, which became a hub for artists and musicians. It was there that Jessie felt most at home. Throughout all this, Gene was still in the picture. He dated both women separately and thought he could make things work with Jessie, but she was growing tired of his games. She loved him, but she couldn't help but feel like he was holding back, afraid to fully commit to her. In February 1967, she found out she was pregnant, but it wasn't Gene's child. It was someone else's. And though she didn't know what to do, she knew she didn't want to keep the baby. She told Gene, and though he was angry at first, he eventually came around. Then in March, Jessie and Joan went to Chicago to visit Dr. Paul Marks, who performed the abortion. Afterwards, they took a Greyhound bus to San Francisco and moved into a house near Golden Gate Park. They adopted 2 cats and made plans to get married. It was the beginning of their happily ever after, or was it? Not everyone was happy that these two were together. In fact, some people were furious. Homosexuality was illegal in California, and their marriage license was denied because of it. So they decided to hold their wedding anyway. On June 29, 1968, Jessie and Joan were married in a small ceremony in City Hall. Only 5 people attended, but that didn't matter. They were committed to each other, and that was all that mattered. News of their unofficial marriage spread, and soon they were symbols of the gay rights movement. People began calling them the Bonnie and Clyde of the gay rights movement, and they became targets of a group of bigots. One day, someone threw a rock through their window, and others followed. Jessie and Joan received threatening letters, phone calls, even death threats. It got so bad that they had to hire bodyguards, and then on August 1st, 1969, their lives changed forever. They were at the Stonewall Inn in New York, celebrating the anniversary of their unofficial marriage. Suddenly, the bar was surrounded by police. Joan was arrested for having a fake ID. Then Jessie stepped in to help her, and she was arrested too. As the night wore on, violence erupted between the police and members of the gay community, and Jessie and Joan found themselves in the middle of it all. They were beaten and arrested, then taken to a police station where they were held for 3 days. All the while, rumors spread about what had happened at the Stonewall Inn. No one knew the full story, but everyone had an opinion. When they were finally released, Jessie and Joan were hailed as heroes. Overnight, they went from being targets of bigots to symbols of the gay rights movement. People wanted to know more about them. They gave interviews, they posed for photos, they became celebrities, but not everyone was happy about this. As the attention grew, so did the pressure. They were expected to be the faces of the gay rights movement, but they weren't activists. They were just two women in love, and that's when things began to fall apart. Jessie and Joan's relationship was put to the test as they traveled the country, meeting with politicians and giving speeches. All the while, they were struggling to keep their marriage together. They eventually split up, and Jessie moved to Los Angeles. But she couldn't escape the shadow of her past. She tried to rebuild her life, but it wasn't the same. She never forgot Joanne. For a while, she stayed active in the gay rights movement, but eventually she dropped out of public life. She worked as a waitress, a bartender, and a clothing designer. She also had 2 children, but she never married again. She spent the last years of her life in a small cottage in the mountains where she could be alone with her thoughts. She died in 2013, but her legacy lives on. Jessie Murphy was a trailblazer. She helped pave the way for countless other couples to live their lives openly and honestly. She showed us that love is love and that we should fight for the right to love who we want without fear of persecution. But she was also a victim of circumstance. She didn't ask for the spotlight, but it found her anyway. She was just a woman trying to live her life in a world that wasn't always accepting. So what can we learn from Jessie and Joanne's story? First, that love is love. No matter who you love, it's valid and important. Second, that we should fight for the rights of all people, not just ourselves. Jessie and Joan didn't just do it for themselves. They did it for everyone who couldn't speak up for themselves. Finally, that we should remember the sacrifices of those who came before us. Jessie and Joan were willing to put themselves on the line for love and equality. Let's honor them by continuing their fight for justice and acceptance. So, what do you think? What lessons can we learn from Jessie and Joan's story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.